How's it going, everybody? Today, I'm here with my friend Drew, who's been selling on Amazon for a little bit less than a year. And this past December, he just did over $70,000 in revenue. So I'm super excited to get into his story, talk about how he started and how he's going to keep growing as an Amazon seller. But if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, man, let us know how you got into Amazon and scroll from there.
Hey, my name is Drew. So I got into Amazon after playing a gaming session with my best friend, and he told me, "Hey, I'm working on this little side business." And I was like, "Hey, what do you need?" And we talk about it in a couple of days. So a couple of days go by, and we get into it. He shows me what's up, and I'm like, "That's interesting. I'm like, this is really work." He's like, "Yeah, man, I've done like 10K ish or whatever," and he's been doing it for about 8 months prior to that. But then we started to get serious talking about it. Told me about Miles and Warner. So I drive all day, and I was basically on the road, just plugged into YouTube, listening to these guys talk, and that's where we got her going.
Yeah, so that sounds like a pretty profitable video game sesh there. So a lot of times running the Amazon business after a while feels like a video game. So maybe it's just the progression. Do you still chat with him? Are you building the business with him still these days?
Yeah, not as much anymore. When we first started, it was like 2 weeks of just solid every day, 2 hours, like showing me Keepa stuff. And this is like right after I started the roadmap, and he started his training with Miles. So we were getting plugged in from two different angles, which was very essential, because after that, we both did 10K months right after that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you remember, you're hopping on the calls, that kind of stuff. Do you remember what that first product was, maybe how you found it?
Yeah, so it was some Nike wristbands, and I was a little rambunctious. I got my credit cards and bought 60 of these Nike wristbands, and I was only making $2 profit, but they were selling 3 or 4 a week. I was just so hyped about that. I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's working."
That's funny. Yeah, that first Amazon sale comes in, you're like, "Oh, I'm rich," and you made, like, you say, $2.
I'll tell you what, it was satisfying to hear that first ching.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the push notification comes in, you're like, "Oh, this is real. This is not just like some random people on the internet talking about flipping junk online." Yeah, that's awesome. As far as you're finding those first items, do you remember about how long it took you to go from finding that first product to your first $10,000 month or so? I know that's a big question people ask, is like, how fast can you really scale things? What did that look like for you?
First couple sales, and then I was lucky. I got ungated in Nike and Adidas and Puma. Like, first attempt, got in there. So I think once I started hitting the Nike outlet, and I was in there spending a couple $100 a couple days a week. I'd never done an FBA shipment, so I was just FBMing basically everything. So that turnover was super fast to see that happen. I think once I started buying more is where you start. Once you get it working and you understand, I feel like once you're able to be confident enough to buy more is where I was able to scale.
Yeah, it's where you can go more than, "Oh, I'll buy a couple, see how fast it sells." No, I've seen something like this. I'm gonna buy 50, I'm gonna buy 100, and going crazy on that. So you mentioned hitting like the outlet stores and that kind of stuff. How much of your business is like driving around to stores, and how much of it is like buying stuff online? I assume that's changed a little bit over time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started, there was a little bit of OA, but it was mostly hitting outlets, hitting Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Ross, piling up the cart, getting 2 carts if I could. Now, definitely transitioned. I still hit Nike here and there a couple times a week just because it's on the way home from work. So I'm able to just pop in there, max out my units, and come home with like 80% ROI on my shopping trip, which is insane. But now it's mostly OA now. It's all OA, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned you're doing a lot of like FBM. For any of you guys who are brand new, that's basically just shipping direct to customer instead of shipping to Amazon and then they ship to the customer. How much of your business is FBM versus FBA, and has that changed over time as well?
But yeah, so it's basically full FBM until I did my first shipment in Seller Central sometime in May, and it was god awful. So I never did another one. And then I got the box them. Then I just started pumping one basically every weekend, 3 or 4 months, on top of still FBMing stuff. So that made things a lot less terrible when Hurricane Helene came through and destroyed my basement. So I was still making money while I was off for 3 weeks and hang out with family in Charleston. And now, so I think we're at 300,000 all FBM out of the 350K that I've done.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's true hustle right there.
Yeah, so like getting that prep center now on board, they just sent out 500 units for me today. It's been so nice to have the space behind me empty and not have.
Yeah, we were just talking about how it was weird. There's not like a giant pile of boxes behind you. Every time I've talked to you before, there's always a
weekend. Oh, there's Nike all the way up here.
Yeah, what clothing brands you got behind him today? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and you're also doing a lot of like FBM, clearly like putting in a lot of the effort and that kind of stuff. And you're saying before you still have like the full-time job too. So a lot of people, they'll jump in and say, "Oh, I don't have any time. I've got a job. I've got big family," that kind of thing. So like, how are you finding the balance between the full-time job and running the Amazon Amazon business?
So definitely have to thank the very supportive wife, mother-in-law, and the grandpa hanging out with the kid while I come down, because I get off work pretty early. So I'm able to come home I get home 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I got to have all my FBM shipments at the post office. So as soon as I got home, I was as fast as I could get home from work, and then just pump the orders, get it dropped off. And then I did as much family stuff as I could until my son went to sleep. And then I'd come down here and either deal with orders that came in, ready ahead for tomorrow, or sourcing, definitely talking to some friends and making things happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just trying to get the best of both worlds, right? I know a lot of other guys I've talked to that kind of have kids, family, that kind of thing. They're working really hard from 9 to midnight, just making it work whenever family time's over. So
I wish I could work till midnight. I got to be up at 4 o'clock for work.
that's funny. What's your 9 to 5?
I work as a driver for Cintas.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like something that you might want to selling stuff on Amazon. Sounds a little bit more fun, probably.
Yeah, they see me get off the truck with Nike bags, and they're like,
That's funny.
"What are you doing?"
They're probably just as confused that they're even super worried about that kind of stuff.
No, I don't know, man. It's good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, so a lot of people probably looking at you. You're running the Amazon business, you're making good money. What's that decision point where you might start to spend more time on the Amazon business, maybe reduce your hours at work, or maybe even quit eventually? What's your long-term goal there?
Yeah, eventually I would love to do this full time. I think what is holding me back is it's not totally secure. I think for me, I think it's a personal thing. A lot of people just up and quit. One of my friends who is doing this with me, he's doing this full time. And from the start, I'm like, that's crazy. But for me, I think I need to have that security net, make sure that I have enough money to cover my Amazon bills, as well as the house, the car. Like, I got a kid, I got to make sure I have insurance for him. But I think a sales goal wise, I think if I was shooting for 100K a month, I think I'd feel pretty comfortable making that much.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, you got to have that. Something like the 9 to 5 comes with not like benefits. You got a family, that kind of thing. I'm never the guy who's like, yeah, you got to quit your 9 to 5, throw it all away. No, a lot of awesome Amazon sellers keep the 9 to 5 for probably way too long because it gives you more money to throw into the business. If you're talking about that safety net, you sleep a little easier at night, like whatever works for you. Like you're talking about, you got some friends that are a little more like willing to take the risk, turn the Amazon business into whatever you want there. I like still finding plenty of time to get after it. And you're talking a little bit about finding like a prep center to free up a little bit of your time. That'll definitely help you grow. Like for somebody who is looking into that, like when was the time right for you to get a prep center?
So I honestly been thinking about it since like September, but just procrastinated, and I was okay with moving the FBM orders every day after work. Sometimes it'd be 50 to 120, but after December, it was pretty exhausting. On top of work, on top of the kid, I think I had 2,700 orders that I did for the month of December, all FBM. I think I was like, you guys talked about the sweat equity. I'm like, I think I did it. I think I've earned the right, and that the time is huge. The amount of time every day after work, it'd be so nice to have that back.
Yeah, for sure. But I assume you are also getting those big benefits from moving items between the right listings and just making those sales faster. Like you're going to start seeing like money starts rolling a little bit slower, but definitely a lot easier after you got your sea legs on Amazon, so to speak. And then as far as in those early days, you mentioned that those Nike wristbands or whatever it was, you're making $2 a unit on those. Maybe that was like the big light bulb moment, but was there like one particular, type of product or one sales day where, oh crap, like this selling Amazon thing, like I could really make some serious money with this. It's not just like a little side hustle.
Sales started to pick up. June and July were pretty good, but I think it really hit with back to school and doing over 50K. So I think back to school was wild too. So I think that's where it really clicked for me, was that wow, this is money. Look at all this money. Look at this profit. And it's not just like selling one item. There was like 50 or 60 different ASINs that were just, as soon as I listed it, it was gone.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember similar light bulb moments where it's, man, like I can list this. It's sold within 5 minutes. Like, how do I get my hands on 1,000 of this? And you kind of
or listing it that sold, there's $40.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you're even testing if stuff will sell well, just picking it up, list it. Maybe it's not quite as good as you hope, put it back on the shelf if you're super worried, that kind of thing.
That is the advantage of being FBM.
For sure. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about like how you sourced for retail arbitrage. Should be pretty obvious, right? Just scanning stuff on the shelves. What was the first online arbitrage products you started finding? Like, how did you go about finding those that kind of made it click, basically?
Probably manual sourcing. I found a pretty good site, Famous Footwear. I think everyone's could be familiar with that. But once I started manual sourcing that, I sourced it so much that they banned me. But once I was just back-to-back orders after finding out that I could order like crazy from them, until obviously they banned me. But finding multiple different items from that website was like, wow, this is huge. And it's so much easier. Going to the store is easy, but like I'm able to sit in the comfort of my home with my cat in my lap.
They might kick you out of the outlet if you're rolling with the cat, huh? That's awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. Usually people don't say that like manual sourcing is what made it click. I guess that's interesting. How did you stumble stumble across like that particular website was going to be your spot versus tons of other websites out there?
I don't know, it was simple. I knew the coupon codes, kind of their sales cycle a little bit, or the early couple 3 months that I was in there banging it out, and they had gift cards too. So I was able to capitalize on making it more profitable.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really big one. A lot of people aren't thinking about. I'm looking for something I can always buy at the price that is profitable, and it'll always be profitable on Amazon. But like you're talking about, when is it cheapest? How do I get it as cheap as possible? Hopefully it's only a super limited time and you come back to that as much as possible. Taking advantage of all the like the discount methods, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Have you got anything cool like personally with like cash back or like kind of bonus money so far, or are you just dumping it all back into the business?
Mostly dumping it all back into the business and sitting on some cash back in my bank accounts. And like, maybe I can rack this up to a full credit card payment when it's right there. And I'm like, it's cash back is basically free money.
Yeah, you might as well be adding all that kind of stuff onto the business for sure. Yes, obviously like early days, you're talking about doing a little bit of like retail arbitrage. Now you're doing a lot of like online arbitrage, buying stuff online. Is there anything in particular that early on was really working for you that you realized you just have to stop doing, one thing that was going to hold you back in the long run so you could like really scale the business?
I really don't think anything was a bad idea, man.
Okay, yeah, it's all in the testing phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it maybe the thing you gotta just stop doing is not spending time on the business. That's like a lot of people just think about it or keep watching the videos and that kind of stuff, but you're clearly like getting after it. Do you remember like you're talking about you're hopping on, you're gaming with buddies and you're making sales, like how fast was it from, ooh, Amazon's interesting to like making that first sale? I always think that's interesting. People who like make good money, it's usually pretty quick. Do you remember what that timeline was for you?
Let's just say I got ungated with those 3 big brands on March 29, and the first sale was April 8th, and was ordered that product, got ungated with that product, and then put it FBM as soon as it came in. And it was like 2 or 3 days. And I feel like I was texting my friend. I'm like, oh dude, like it's been like 4 days. Like I don't have a sale yet. Don't worry, man. It's coming. I didn't have a repricer then. So I was like going in and making sure like I was close or had the lowest price, because I didn't know back then that there's all these different metrics like regional buy box. And
yeah, that's funny. It's always a fun waiting game trying to get that first sale. It's every minute it takes forever. You're refreshing the seller app over and over again, that kind of stuff.
Yes, I did that. I still am guilty.
Yeah. How many times a day are you still checking the seller app right now?
It's definitely slowed down, but I'll tell you, during December, I was pull it down and refresh it, because those days were like I had a $7,000 day, and then wrapped around that was like all 5K days. And as soon as I refreshed, I'm like, oh, the number went up. I'll tell you 20 minutes later, what are we at now?
That's funny. It's like a slightly more productive version of scrolling TikTok or something, right?
It's a satisfying version of that.
That's funny. Yeah. Obviously been able to hit some good numbers, that kind of thing. What do you have to say to somebody? I hear it all the time. Oh, I can only buy 10 at a time. Like arbitrage isn't scalable. I'm not able to scale reselling. Like what are some ways that you've actually been able to show that it is scalable? Maybe even doubted that in the early days.
I don't think I doubted that. Watching you and Miles, and once you guys were like, gotta make a Twitter account or something. Once I saw the other orange bars and the other guys, once you start getting into the network, and other guys that were in the roadmap, they're posting 100K months, and you're like, oh, I bet I could do that. But how do we do that? And for me, it was, instead of buying 5 or 10 units, it was, all right, that Keepa chart looks good. This is what a good Keepa chart looks like. We're going in. You get a little bit of confidence there.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Was there any kind of hacks to building that confidence or anything like that? Or is it just a result of buying and selling a few things to get the ball rolling?
I think I had asked you, it's like, when do you lose the fear of spending so much money? And you're just like, it'll happen when it happens. And then that's once my friend used to apply for this credit card, and 3 hours later, him and I were sourcing, and I've maxed it out. Once we were there, that it just disappears, and you're confident and you just do it.
Yeah. Most people got to see those first sales rolling in before they're like going crazy. I've seen some guys and gals going all in, but I like that for sure. So you're a little bit mentioning like making the Twitter account, like hopping on calls with other Amazon sellers, that kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit about why that's been so important? Maybe how you made those first initial networking connections tactically so somebody can do the same thing as well?
Yeah, I did have a little bit of an advantage with my best friend, and Miles pushed me into it. And once we started getting posts and other people started to comment and share, it just grows. And then my buddy, who I basically talk to every day with this business, he was in a roadmap call as well, but he also saw that I was on Twitter. And so we talked there a little bit, and now we chat every day, and we literally send each other free money.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
basically
what we do.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't think about how you add one competitor to some of your listings. Who cares? There's already 10, 15, 20 other people on the listing. If they're doing the same thing, they're adding you onto their best listings, then you both make a whole lot more money than keeping everything to yourself. I know I tried to be a lone wolf for a long time there.
It'll work, but definitely not as fun.
Yeah. you've done a great job. Like you're talking about the Twitter account and that kind of thing. You're just like posting boxes that are going out, just like sharing what you're up to. And it showed your friend now that you're serious about it. And obviously you made a lot of money just putting yourself out there a little bit. Yeah, would really encourage you guys watching to do the same thing. Lots of opportunity being hogged by guys like Drew who are willing to just look a little bit silly for a few weeks while they're trying to make some connections. And it just works, right? Like it's funny that way.
It's not so silly when they send you a lead that
Right. Yeah.
5 units of down the road. So
yeah, exactly. Awesome. So far you've done a little over $350,000, which is awesome. Less than a year into the business. What is your long-term goal for the business? Call your shot a little bit. And what do you think's holding you back from hitting that bigger number right now?
So obviously long-term goal, I'd love to be banging out $1 million a year. That'd be huge. That's more than enough money to go ahead and do this full time and be pretty comfortable. I think the only thing that's holding me back is I have a strict rule on staying cash positive, like we talked about before. I just don't want to be stuck in a bad position. But as we're making these sales and we're growing, it's becoming easier and easier to make more money without having to dig into the credit.
Yeah. Like it's not the fun way to grow, right? You're not going to get the crazy hyper growth that way, but I'm the same way. Like one time I've spent more money than I actually had in cash. It was like a few years ago. So I don't like this. It's a little bit too risky for me. So I like that. Like growing at the pace you're comfortable with there. It's not the sexy way to grow, but you're not going to get one email from Amazon that says, hey, you got to submit documents, takes you a couple weeks to get back, and credit card payment gets missed. So just be careful with that for all of you guys who are thinking about going crazy on Amazon as well. Yeah. So for that guy or girl, they're watching this video, maybe they've made their first couple sales. They're trying to make those first sales. What would be that first thing that's the most important thing for them to do? How do they make those next sales as quick as possible?
So I think it's hard. It's a lot to learn once you start getting into the social media, which I'm sure you're going to have to. Seeing other sellers with like their huge orange bars makes you want it so much, but like don't compare yourself to them. Just I put myself through hours and hours of not finding anything, and it's draining. But once you get there, like you find out and you get comfortable and you can do it, and you can have big orange bars too.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, definitely. I remember it took me like 2 or 3 days to find my first OA product. I was just like hunting through random sites. Man, does this actually work? And then yeah, eventually you stumble on it actually does. So I like that. Take action, get after it. For somebody who's watching this video, they want to reach out, ask any questions, see what you're up to. Where can they find you on social media?
So I'm on Twitter or X as the Insason.
Sounds good. I'll drop the link down below if you go drop Drew a follow. He's always documenting what he's up to over there. So like I was talking about, make sure you guys go drop Drew a follow over there. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, drop those down below as well. Always happy to chat with you guys down below. Really appreciate you watching this video. Thanks again for your time, Drew, and I will see you guys again very soon.